to do a hands-on equation lesson today. And I'm going to put this up on the board. Each one of you is going to get one of these. Raise your hand if you know what this is. Raise your hand if you know what this is. Krista, what is this?
A scale.
It's a scale. And what's a scale used for? To see how much stuff weighs. Perfect. That's a great definition. This scale is perfectly balanced. What do you think that means if the scale is perfectly balanced? No. What do you think that means if it's perfectly balanced? Diego, what do you think it means if the scale is perfectly balanced?
It means they're the same weight.
It means that there's the same amount of weight on each side of the scale. Excellent. Can you see that? Now, we don't have any weight on this right now, so that's why the scale's balanced, because there's actually nothing on one side and nothing on the other, so the scale is balanced. If I was to put something up on one side and not anything on the other, do you think the scale will stay balanced, Jessica? No, what will happen? If I was to put weight on one side and not the other, what's going to happen? Yeah, the scale's going to tip, right? So what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to give each of you some objects. You'll each get a bag. Pass it over. You're each going to get a bag. And you're each going to get your own scale. So you each will have your own scale. I'm going to put up different ways in which you're going to try to balance your scale. So go ahead and open up your objects and go ahead and set up your scale on your desk. And for each instance, we're going to see if we can determine what the value is of the unknown object. So on your scale right now, I would like you to put the object that looks like this, kind of looks like a blue game piece. Go ahead and put that on one side of your scale. And I want you to find the number 5 cube, and I want you to put that on the other side of your scale. So in this example, so make sure the 5 is facing you, perfect. In this example, what do we think the value is of this blue piece? Raise your hand if you have any idea what the value is on this blue piece. Raise your hand if you know what the value is. Does anybody have any idea? So remember, we have 5 on this side and a blue piece on this side. So remember, I have 5 on this side and I have my blue piece on this side. Sorry, it's not blue, but use your imagination. Does anybody have any thoughts to what the value is of this blue piece? Diego?
5.
It would be 5. Isn't the scale balanced? So can't we then assume, Jessica, if 5 on one side weighs the same as this unknown value, the variable on the other side? Does that make sense? So in this case, x equals 5, right?
Yes.
Does that make sense? Now it's going to get a little bit different. If I was to change, let's change the value on this side. I'm going to put 8 over here. And I'm going to make 2 pieces over here. 2 puzzle pieces. So how does that change my equation? What now can we say the value of each of those pieces would be? Diego.
One is going to worth 4, and it's going to weigh 8.
So now Diego is saying we can then say x is valued at 4. Correct? Does that make sense to each of you? So that each of those pieces was valued at 4, their combined weight would be 8. Their combined weight would be 8. So our scales would balance. Is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass out to you guys a worksheet. I want you to try to do each one of these examples on your scale, and you're going to try to solve for x. You have to look at what you know, what the constant is, to help you figure out the unknown or the variable. So as I walk around, I want each of you to try to work through this worksheet, get your name on there, and try to figure out, using your scale, how we can come up with that unknown value. And I will walk around and help you guys. But you've got to keep representing on your scale, and you've got all of your manipulatives to keep representing the different scenarios. And then I want you guys to try to solve for X. Now, one other thing they asked you to do is you need to check for X. So if I did this, can you guys stop for a second? If X was worth 4, the way I would check this answer is I would say 4 plus 4 equals 8. So I have to go ahead and solve it. Do you see where it says check? So once you've figured out what your variable is worth, I want you to then check your answer. Does that make sense? Okay, so I want each of you, I'm going to circulate around the room. I want each of you to try to solve for X using your scale.